Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Um, yeah, we still expect some people, but I suggest we don't waste a lot of our time. So let's start with the webinar, and I would like to give the floor to Philippe first from the Netherlands Embassy in Portugal, and I will do my further introduction later on.
Yes, thank you, Rick. Good morning, everyone. My name is Flip Muhassas. Sorry, I'm representing the Netherlands Embassy in Lisbon. I'm the Economic and Trade Officer here, which means that I'm usually the point of contact for the Dutch entrepreneurs and businesses looking to explore opportunities in Portugal or to expand their footholds in this market. And it's in that capacity that we are already looking at the FIFA 2030, which is a bit odd because we are all now seeing on TV the current FIFA in the US, but we are already looking ahead in the next FIFA tournament. We are doing this, of course, together with our colleagues in Madrid and Morocco. So this is maybe important for you to know that us embassies like to work together, also to give some scale and identify some synergies. I'm sure that colleagues in Madrid and Morocco are also here in this call. What we in Lisbon, in Portugal, did is that we had the need to have a more in-depth study to identify the concrete opportunities, if there were, to start off, to the Dutch sports cluster. The World Cup in Portugal will have a smaller scale, maybe, as compared to Spain and Morocco, and the consultants will present that in a minute. So to know how to position ourselves, we wanted to have a more professional look, and that's why we hired the Nova Junior Consulting colleagues to do that. They'll be presenting their findings just after my introduction. The idea is, of course, is to share these findings with you, not to keep them at our desk, nor to just to share the document, which we will also be doing afterwards. Rick will be doing that, but is to give back some of the value that colleagues have identified. I must say I found this study a particularly good one, so kudos here also to the colleagues that will be presenting just after me. Hopefully, as well, after the presentation, we can also hear back from you, either in the form of questions or comments, suggestions, because from the embassy's point of view, this is important as long as it's important for the Dutch sports cluster. Of course, we are doing this sort of a service to the Dutch cluster. So feel free to react just after, at the end of the presentations.
You muted yourself, Felipe.
Yeah.
How was this possible? Sorry. I was saying that maybe you've heard that this is only important because, to the extent if it is important to the Dutch cluster. And we hope to get hear back from you, either from questions or comments, so to empower also the embassy to know how to define the level of energy and commitments, energy and time that we should allocate to this project in the next 4 years. Also, just before my conclusion, of course, to show tokens of appreciation for the collaboration with RVO. We have RVO here with Selena and Raymond at least, also definitely with Rick and the Orange Sports Cluster, and as I mentioned, also to the colleagues of Nova Junior Business Consulting. So with this, I will pass the words and the floor to Manuel for the meet and greet presentation. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me clearly. Thank you so much for being here and to witness our presentation. We are Nova Junior Consulting. As Philippe said, we are a consultant group, student-led consulting group from Nova SBE in Portugal. And we did this study, as Philippe has already described, which we will start now by presenting it to you. So we have first this small executive summary. As Philippe said, we will share the presentation with all of you, so you can then look at this in more detail, but this is more of a detailed roadmap of what we did. And in simpler terms, we have it here in more of a roadmap structure, which defines the 6 main steps that we took in our approach, which allowed us to discover 21 opportunities, from which we selected and evaluated the 10 best ones, which allowed us to narrow it down to 6 that we believe are most fitting for OSF companies, and that we will present today to you in detail, these last 6. So moving on to how we approached this project, we started by understanding the scale and the impact that the World Cup was expected to have here in Portugal. We looked also at other sports events and tried to news and studies in expected impact, which revealed some numbers to us, some important ones like the additional visitors expected and the projected GDP impact, which allowed us to understand the scale of the tournament. Then we moved on to key investments, where we looked at the monetary movements that were already being made or expected to be made. We divided these in 8 clusters, as you can see here, with different incidents, different drivers, and different importance. And we looked at them separately into both, for example, an example of an already confirmed investment is the investment that will be made, for instance, in telecom. Another example of an investment that is expected but not yet confirmed is, for instance, the one in transport and mobility. But we took this into consideration for our analysis, knowing how much money was being moved and from where to where. Then we went into the opportunity discovery and evaluation, which is what I'm going to present to you now into this methodology. So looking at the methodology, we first did a large research to understand opportunities and what we could do with them. And then we chose to evaluate them mainly according to 5 parameters: impact, timeline, competition, entry barriers, and stakeholder complexity. We evaluated them, and we will show you in a second, in this way, so from low to high, and color coded it. The colors obviously depend on what the parameter is. So for instance, high impact is positive, so it will be in green, while high entry barriers is negative, so it will be represented in red. So now looking at an example of how we did this, for example, let's take a look at these 3 opportunities, which were event mobility systems, integrated mobility platform, and smart and low emission mobility. 3 similar opportunities, but with different landscapes. And we can see that they rank differently in terms of these specific parameters. So looking at this, we can see that integrated mobility platform seems to be a better opportunity than the other ones, mainly due to lower stakeholder complexity, lower entry barriers, and a feasible timeline and competition. So this was our approach to all 21 opportunities that we had from the start. We evaluated every single one of them thoroughly using this framework, and then we selected the 10 best ones. From there, we did a large analysis to the OSF companies. We mainly focused on what they were doing, their Iberia presence, and the average project size that they were doing. We looked into every single one of the companies to make sure that we were getting a good grasp of what OSF companies do on a daily basis, and to make sure that we selected the 6 best opportunities that were capable of matching with not only with OSF strengths, but with their capabilities and their presence in Iberia. From here, we then selected our 6 favorites, or the 6 best performing opportunities, which were these 6 by crossing the market demand and feasibility, which are associated with the 5 parameters that we presented before, crossing that with the OSF fit, the OSF capabilities, and how things are expected to move forward. We then came up with these 6, which are infrastructure modernization, fan engagement platform, operations monitoring platform, integrated mobility platform, cybersecurity infrastructure, and smart sustainable solutions. So these are the 6 opportunities that my 3 colleagues here with me will present to you. And I believe that on that note, before moving forward, sorry, we will present to you for each opportunity one summary slide. But as Philippe said, we expect and we hope that you have questions for us. For each of these summary slides, we have a bunch of slides on the more in-depth analysis, characterizing the four steps of this analysis, which are the opportunity overview, the stakeholders ecosystem, the competitive landscape, and the OSF profile associated to that opportunity. So for every single opportunity, you will see a snapshot, and then we have all of this. So any question regarding these teams, we can quickly go down there and discuss it. So now moving on, and on that note, I will give the word to my colleague to the first opportunity.
I believe there's a question in the chat. I don't know if you want to address it now, or we can just go over the presentation and at the end.
I think it's better to go to the presentation first, and afterwards we can do one or two questions.
Okay, great. So thank you, Manuel. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to present the work our team has been developing. I hope you can hear me well. So now turning to the first opportunity, infrastructure modernization focuses on upgrading stadiums and sports facilities to meet FIFA requirements and support large-scale attendance. Key areas of investment include pitch improvements, energy-efficient lighting systems, upgraded locker rooms, and enhanced digital connectivity. Demand is being driven by mandatory FIFA standard upgrades, broadcast and media readiness requirements, high-capacity crowd infrastructure needs, sustainability targets, and the growing importance of connected stadium experiences. Beyond stadiums, there is also a recognized need to improve the training centers and the training grounds. And while no formal investments have yet been confirmed in this area in Portugal, these facilities are expected to become increasingly more relevant as development plans progress. For OSF, the opportunity here lies in positioning itself as a specialized provider of targeted upgrade solutions. The recommended entry strategy is to build partnerships with stadium contractors and local execution firms, enabling efficient project delivery and market access. In parallel, OSF should closely monitor developments in training ground investments and prioritize this segment once projects and investments are confirmed, given its potential strategic importance. Areas where OSF can play a role include lighting systems, power and energy solutions, player facilities, sustainability retrofits, and security infrastructure. Moving on to the second opportunity, fan experience platform, the focus is on developing an integrated fan experience platform that brings together the different digital services fans use throughout the tournament journey. Rather than creating a standalone solution, the value lies in integrating existing systems and providing a seamless experience across mobile applications, ticketing, stadium navigation, mobility information, payments, and interactive services. Several factors are driving this opportunity. Fan services are currently fragmented across multiple applications, while ticketing and access systems must integrate with FIFA's platforms. At the same time, cashless payment solutions need to scale to handle peak demand, and FIFA's digital-first requirements are increasing expectations for connected and personalized fan experiences. However, the presence of established technology providers creates significant barriers for new standalone platforms. For OSF, in spite of this, the recommended approach is to position itself as the integration layer across fan services, enabling different platforms and stakeholders to work together seamlessly. This requires building platforms with platform owners, stadium operators, public entities, and other ecosystem players that can control different parts of the fan journey. Entry should begin with focused pilot projects, such as a specific stadium, fan zone, or event to demonstrate value before scaling. Potential roles for OSF include mobile application development, ticketing and access integration, payment and commerce integration, content and broadcast integration, as well as accessibility and assisted services. Given the competitive landscape, success will depend less on owning the platform itself and more on delivering reliable integration capabilities that connect existing solutions into a unified fan experience platform. I will now pass the word to Mariana, who will proceed with the presentation. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Vera. Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to meet with us. So I will present the next opportunity, which is the operations monitoring platform, where the idea here is to have a platform where all the operations can be tracked and managed. These operations include, but are not limited to, monitoring, transportation, and security, making it easier for the different collaborators to work together. For this to be possible, technology providers become an essential stakeholder for the integration. For competitors in the tech space, we have a lot of big international and consolidated players, making it a bit hard to compete directly with them. This being said, the focus should be on working alongside them and fitting into their systems, which is possible thanks to the fragmented markets these companies operate on. Therefore, the ideal OSF company takes on the role of a niche specialist in the specific operational layers, such as, for example, data integration. Next, we have the integrated mobility platform. And the idea here is simple. So instead of having different apps for the train, for metro, and for bikes, everything would be brought into this one single place. And this matters because the World Cup will create intense mobility peaks around areas such as stadiums and also major tourist hubs. We've also seen this before in the Euro 2004, where people faced up to 19-minute queues for public transportation. Although the good news is that Portugal is investing heavily in public transportation for the World Cup, which will generate new and long-term possibilities for tech companies. And similarly to the operations monitoring platform, partnerships here are also essential due to the mixture of regulators, owners, and also providers. In terms of entry, the main focus should be on visible bottlenecks first, with then the option to scale into broader initiatives. I will now pass my word to Leonor, who will continue with the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariana. I will now present the last two opportunities. So moving on to our fifth opportunity, we have the cybersecurity infrastructure. The cybersecurity is becoming increasingly more important since we nowadays, not only in the World Cup, but also in other large events, have a lot of services dependent on the digital services. For example, ticketing, payments, broadcasting, and so on. And as these systems become more integrated, the risk of having a potential cyber attack or even a breach in personal information can have a high impact. And this is why this is an area with increasing demand and also increasing regulations. However, we have a heavy saturated market where success is less dependent on the technology provided and more on the having the right stakeholders, which is why in the slides that we have in the annex, we gathered some stakeholders in order to make the first point of contact easy for the companies. But how can we create value in the cybersecurity market? We already know that in terms of competition, this is a market dominated by large players, but despite these high entry barriers, the companies can still offer strong capabilities, more on scalability and also specific services. Also, partnering with these large players can be also a solution. So not only offering specialized services, but also trying to partner with already established players. Moving on to our final opportunity, we have the smart sustainable solutions. As we know, sustainability is now becoming a standard practice for almost all companies, and that's why this opportunity is a priority. Because also the World Cup will increasingly will significantly increase the resource consumption. And alongside with that, we know that the requirements for sustainable targets are even more strict nowadays. And alongside with that, we have a high expected investment in this area. And that's why the sustainable ecosystem creates a really good opportunity for the OSF companies to provide not only scalable solutions, but also deployable and modular solutions. And by that, I mean not trying to own the entire ecosystem, but trying to create solutions that can be integrated in already existing systems. We also gathered some parties here, but the most important takeaways is that stakeholders in this area often work in pairs, so their operations are heavily coordinated, and that's why looking at the stakeholders here, it's really important. Lastly, how to create value in the sustainable solutions. Here, instead of competing with the large players that are already established in the market, we suggest focusing on more specific services and helping these large players make their operations more sustainable. The strongest opportunities here lie in carbon tracking, temporary microgrids, water system, and also food waste solutions. Another important thing to highlight here is that in order for the companies to create value in this area, they should also create solutions that have a long-lasting effect, so they can be valued after the tournament ends. To conclude, across all the 6 opportunities that we analyzed, we consistently found that the most interesting path for the OSF companies is not to compete directly against the players that are already established, but rather provide specialized services. So we believe that by entering early, by building strategic partnerships, and by, more importantly, leveraging the Dutch expertise, the OSF companies can capture value from the World Cup 2030. Thank you very much. I don't know if you
Yes.
have any questions, or if we should go over the questions that are in the comments.
Yeah, I suggest there were 2 questions in the comments, or 2 by Christian and 1 by Richard. So maybe Christian, you can start and turn on your microphone and ask your questions to NGI, and after that Richard, and the rest of the questions we can save for the Q&A.
Cool. Thank you so much, and thank you for this presentation and how wide and complex it is to organize a World Cup while watching it on the TV each week now. So yeah, my first question was, have you done any research on social impact, or how the World Cup might also be contribution to local talents, local communities in Lisbon, in Porto? I think that are the 2 main areas, or how it can be used for development of underdeveloped regions, emerging regions in Portugal.
Yes, some of the work that we did, and when we were looking into the key investments, was exactly that. We looked into, for example, the impact on local shops and on gastronomy in the country, because Portugal is a country that is very well known for its culture and for its traditions, and so we know that those are for sure going to be impacted. And yeah, that's it. Maybe someone wants to add anything?
Okay, and to maybe show some partnerships with NGOs. Have you looked at that? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes, have you also looked on possible partnerships with NGOs, or how NGOs can benefit of this?
I think that's a topic that we did not cover in our research, partnerships with NGOs. Yeah.
Okay, we can have some wines about that.
But we, in the annex, we have specific slides just for the stakeholders. And actually, we divided the slide into providers and owners and regulators of each area. And we also added some stakeholders contacts, like specific people that you can get in contact with in order to make that first approach easier and more straightforward. So we mentioned, I believe that are not NGOs the main focus, that are the more large companies and public companies as well. But I think that that can help in order to start the contact with Portuguese companies.
Thank you so much for that.
Okay, thank you.
If I may ask a question, sorry, because I'm not aware, which stadiums will be used? Is it like all over like 2004, so from Braga to Faro, or is it smaller?
It will only be the, let's call it major 3 stadiums. So the
Okay,
Sporting.
Luz, Alvalade, Dragão. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Because the other stadiums didn't meet FIFA requirements in terms of quality and attendance.
Yeah, so I guess that the question of Christian, if this is about taking care of the interior and non-urban parts of Lisbon, I guess that the answer lays there. I mean, this will be highly concentrated in Lisbon and Porto, so might be difficult to imagine anything beyond that.
Well, what we see, so what's interesting is the Benfica training grounds are on the other side of the Teja River. And you see the same thing with Porto and then going more to Vila Nova de Gaia and including that region with all the goodness that's about to come to the region. So there are some possibilities there. And also
the bigger Lisbon and bigger Porto area that you're referring to. Sure.
And Vera, go ahead.
I was just going to add that we also looked into the possibility of Algarve being a great connector, because we know that it's at the border with Morocco, like you understand what I mean. So it would be great if the Algarve had a training ground that's confirmed, because then the selections could stay there, and it's great for them to travel around Portugal, Spain, and Morocco.
And going onto these two questions and adding on the infrastructure section of our presentation, that's precisely the fact that the 3 main stadiums are the ones that are going to be used. It's precisely why we highlighted the development not only of the stadiums but of the training grounds and of the camps, because we believe that that's where most impact can be created, precisely because of what was being said. Those will be in less developed areas. Those will not be next to the big stadiums. Those will not be in the center of the cities. And in terms of impact outside of let's say the training camp itself, or in terms of impact on the overall economy of the location, that's where more impact will be found. However, those are only confirmed much later. So as of now, FIFA is still focusing on the 2026 World Cup and is yet to confirm this. But as soon as these are confirmed, there is a lot more information on what specific local hubs can be developed. So I hope that goes more towards what you were asking.
Absolutely, that's exciting. And may I ask, do you think that the standards and requirements of training grounds are designed by the national football agencies or by FIFA too? Because FIFA usually organizes just the tournament and then the national agencies pick the training grounds.
Basically, FIFA will personally go to the training grounds and will check if the training grounds are good and if they have the requirements. But what happens is sometimes you have huge clubs like Porto who will step forward and say that their training ground has been approved, which is the case. This isn't something that FIFA has confirmed already. This is something that they kind of assumed, since they have great quality in their training grounds, and so they're already investing in their training center. However, this will always be approved and officialized by FIFA first.
So I think more directly, FIFA will make the training camps eligible, but then the process, I believe, takes a part, like you said. So training camps become eligible, then there is a selection that FIFA does not partake in, but they need to be eligible. And when they become eligible, that's when investments will start happening, because training camps will want to be selected. So local clubs will want their camp to be selected.
I see more people raising their hand, but I suggest that we do one more question now. Richard, if you can take the floor, please, and please save your questions for the Q&A, which will start in 10-15 minutes. So then we will do the rest of the questions.
Great. Thank you, Rick. Yeah, Vera, I was just triggered by something that you said. You were talking about connected stadium experience. We're in the business of providing live audio during live games, so everybody can experience the game better, especially the blind and the visually impaired. Could you elaborate a little bit on what you mean with the connected stadium experience, and if that's what you're talking about? Is that part of that?
Yeah, sure. So the goal with the fan experience platform was to connect ticketing and what we mean by accessing the stadium. So combine all of the services that a fan would need in order to attend a match. For example, if they are in the interior of the country or if they are far away from the stadium, they can have already a plan of here is where you need to go, where here is your door, here is how you move inside the stadium, here is where you find the bathrooms, the facilities. So that was the goal. This is something that FIFA has already developed for this World Cup with Globant, but it has a lot of things that lack quality and rigor, just because I believe it's something that is a pilot experience. So we saw a lot of possibility for improvement, and that's why we also suggested to OSF. Regarding the question that you asked me specifically, I believe that this would be great as an add-up to the platform. This part where you stated the live commentary, this would be a great add-on. I believe it's not something that Globant, which is the major partner of FIFA in this app, already does.
Okay. Yeah, what I hear, what they're doing now in the States is that they're providing the live commentary from a central stage. So they stream the images to a certain place, I don't know where, and then provide it with the audio commentary. And I'm still trying to figure it out what the latency is, and I think you could really make a difference there. So it's okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Continue with the program. I would like to give the floor to Raymond Toet from the Netherlands Enterprise Agency. I don't know if you want to share your screen, Raymond.
No, to be honest, because I didn't really prepare the presentation. But I think it's good just to introduce myself as the sector account sports manager in the Netherlands, which means that I'm in contact with the bigger sports federations, with companies like OSF, with companies who are not a member of OSF but who are involved into sport, just as organizations and municipalities, provinces, and other ministries in the Netherlands who will do anything with sports. And of course, with my colleagues inside of the Netherlands Enterprise Agency, such as Celine, who is the business developer for Spain and Morocco, who will tell a little bit more what she is doing after my words. I think it's good to explain a little bit more about the Netherlands Enterprise Agency. The Netherlands Enterprise Agency is a government organization under the umbrella of the Ministry of Economic Affairs. We are doing a lot with with international programs in relation to business development, but not only for sport, but also for other sectors like life science and health, sustainability, etc., etc. And what we try to do and what we try to combine is the sector together with the business development and doing business abroad. And I think, Celine, you can and will tell the audience a little bit more about that. And I'm also, of course, into this call and for any other questions in relation to sector account sport. But maybe, Celine, you will tell a little bit more about business development and how the audience can use you maybe for doing business in Morocco or Portugal or Spain in relation to this presentation.
Yes, thank you very much. I will also do it without slides, but it will be a short story. My name is Celine Koppers. I also work at Netherlands Enterprise Agency, RVO, for the Dutchies among us. And Raymond and I, we both work for the International Business Department. Now our goal is to support Dutch companies with their international growth. Mostly that's related to trade promotion. So that's the goal we focus on. To, that we've envisioned some goals in some countries that we want to make them come true for Dutch companies. And we do that by a multi-annual strategy. So we create several momentum for reaching that goal. And I personally work mostly with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands and with the embassies and Netherlands business support offices and consulate generals worldwide. And I do that personally for Italy, Spain, Portugal, Switzerland, and Austria. So 5 countries. And we see that sport is quite important. We just had the Olympic Winter Games in Italy. I see some familiar faces in this call as well. So we see some opportunities. And we create a program for that. And now, of course, also with the World Cup coming up in Morocco, Spain, and Portugal. We want to have a multi-annual strategy that can be a market study like this one, but also a trade mission, incoming delegation visit of a Spanish delegation, for instance, who wants to visit Dutch companies and to gain more insights on how we as the Netherlands would organize sport events. And we collaborate closely also with branch organizations such as OSEF. I want to briefly mention that we have several phases of supporting you as Dutch entrepreneurs with your international ambitions. We have a preparation phase. So if you're quite new to the Spanish market, for instance, we have on our website country information, all the market studies available, and also some contact details of my colleagues who will have one-on-one conversations with you about your international plans, and they can tell more about regulations, for instance, on the Spanish market. So I can recommend you to reach out to them if Spain or Portugal is totally new to you. Then we also have, of course, some subsidized financing tools available. For instance, support international business. There's some money available if you're new to a market and you want to enter the market, or you want to gain knowledge and skills, or have an export training, or individually participate to a trade fair in that country. If the Dutch government is not involved, then you can apply for subsidy. So that's interesting to look at. I will also share the links in the chat. Then we offer ways of strengthening your network. That's the second phase, by organizing trade missions, for instance, and matchmaking activities. We often hear that we as public partners, we can open doors for you in other countries, which could be quite hard for you to do it by yourself. So we are there for you. If you want to position in a new market, third phase, then we have a subsidy available for demonstration projects, feasibility studies, investing preparation projects, and market validation. It's a lot, and there are a lot of conditions, so please have a look at the link that I will share. And we have a export guide available, export tool guide available, and then you can see all the programs, all the subsidies we have available at the Netherlands Enterprise Agency. So yeah, I want to share this with you, and of course it's a lot of information. Happy to collaborate on sports. As I see it, it offers opportunities, and sports, we see it as a, how to say, like a transition that brings together all sectors. So if you're active in, for instance, the mobility sector, sport is interesting. And even if you're active in the energy sector, as we saw in the market study presentation. So looking forward to work together with you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I will give a last part of this presentation. Let me see if I can turn it into full screen. Yep, there it is. Yeah, my name is Rick Slegers, Orange Sports Forum. The organization is already mentioned a couple of times, and I also see a lot of familiar faces in this call, but also some new ones. So I will start with a short introduction. But actually, the most important thing about my presentation is also to tell you a little bit more about the next steps. So I think it's a very relevant and interesting research that the embassy and the NGI did together. We will, of course, share the full report later on. But yeah, and then what? So there's still some gaps to fill in between this report and the actual business deals. And of course, there are plenty of ways to follow up on this, and I will present you a few. First of all, Orange Sports Forum, for the people that don't know who we are a platform of, at this moment, more than 300 Dutch sports-related organizations. And it varies from architects to stadium construction, suppliers for events, or even startups. And our main goal is to support those organizations with international business. So we do that by building a network, a national network, of course, but also an international network. We are founded in 2010. So in the past 16 years, we organized the trade missions to China, Australia, Japan, but also United States, Middle East, and Europe, of course. So in the time, we built up a big network of international sport organizations as well, which we would love to bring in touch with you. Secondly, we also represent and consult the network. So if there are any questions about doing business in a specific country, we or one of the partners in our network can help. And of course, we promote the Dutch sports industry worldwide, for example, by going to international exhibitions, federations, or via the yearbook Holland Sports and Industry that we publish each year. And more about the follow-up. One of the things that we are currently working on is the PIB program, Partners for International Business. It's a public-private partnership together with RVO, the Netherlands Enterprise Agency, as Raymond and Celine already mentioned. We did these kind of programs also towards the FIFA World Cup in Qatar. We did it towards China from 2017 to 2020, but also towards the FIFA World Cup 26 in the USA. And we're still involved in that, and we see that it's a very successful program if you work together with a group or a cluster of Dutch companies with a strategic approach to, well, in this case, the Portuguese and Spanish market. And especially also thanks to the cooperation with the Dutch government, we can involve their expertise, but also the support of the embassy and the consulates and the Netherlands business support offices that are located in this case, Spain and Portugal. So, like I said, it's a strategic program, and within that program, RVO can reserve a budget. It's a co-financing, so also the Dutch organizations need to pay a yearly fee. And within this program, we can organize yearly trade missions. We go to conferences and exhibitions in Spain and Portugal. There will be some budget to promote the cluster of companies with videos, a website, etc. Of course, also some economic sports diplomacy to involve the embassy and other diplomats and the government. To work together with local governments and other NGOs and institutions. So all that together, it's a very valuable program, and we have very good experience with it. So like I said, we are now working on a similar program towards the FIFA World Cup 2030, which will involve Spain and Portugal. So a little bit how it will look like. We're now still in the application phase, and the program will focus on both Spain and Portugal. It's more focused on how can we work together to the opportunities that were just presented in the report, and make sure all the companies can get in business and can capitalize on all the opportunities that are taking place around the FIFA World Cup. There are many Dutch companies that are involved in the Winter Olympics in Milan, many Dutch companies that were involved in the FIFA World Cup Qatar or FIFA World Cup in USA, Mexico, and Canada. So we are convinced that also many companies will be involved in the 2030 FIFA World Cup. And the good thing about a program like this is that you can work together with some newcomers, let's say starters on the Spanish or Portuguese market, together with some more established companies that maybe already have an office in Spain or Portugal, and that in that way you can really combine the strengths and the networks and the expertise of each organization, and we can really help each other out. So this is one of the follow-up programs that we are planning. Of course, there will be many activities and events organized, not only within this program, but also some additional events, which we will, of course, communicate as well to all of you. And also, we will share the contact details of everyone and all the speakers later today in an email. So, of course, feel free to reach out to one of them if you're more interested in a individual follow-up or if you have some specific questions. Well, how does that planning look like? Like I said, we're now in the application phase. We will submit the final version in July, and hopefully we get approval right after the summer or close enough after the summer, so we can organize the first activities or in fourth quarter of 26, and otherwise in 27. And there are already some activities planned for Spain, like the World Football Summit, which is taking place in September in Madrid, where we will have a Dutch orange booth and a couple of tickets, so we can go there together and represent ourselves as the Dutch sports industry. So that's already one of the concrete follow-up actions. And we're also working together with local partners in Spain and in Portugal. So if there's more interest in a individual follow-up from a business perspective, that's also something we can help with, of course. If you are interested or want to learn more about this program, you can scan this QR code, or I will share also the link in the email later on. But feel free to reach out if there are any questions or you would like to hear more about the follow-up and the different ways you can cooperate in this together. Lastly, my contact details. You will also receive this in your email, so I won't show the slide for too long. I already saw some questions in the chat, so I think it's good to start with the Q&A and see if there are any more questions for one of the speakers.
There was a question addressed to me by Christian, but I don't get it totally, the question. So maybe you can restate it, Christian.
Yes, sorry. Yes, I was wondering, as in, like, you're now building this bridge. So I see that Orange Sports Forum is based in Eindhoven. Is that also for as a Dutch Dutch innovator, let's call it like that. That's the central hub to connect to if we want to connect more with RVO or with Orange Sports, or are there other opportunities to work together, for instance, on projects towards 2030 or other locations in the Netherlands?
Okay, I can try to answer this question. Maybe you can, Rick, and also Raymond, because Raymond is also knows the network in the Netherlands. You can start first, Rick.
And I just wanted to mention that indeed we are based in Eindhoven, so we are a let's say a private organization. We're non-for-profit, so a foundation, and we mainly represent, let's say, the companies, so the private sector, but we work very closely with RVO. So if you want to follow up or have some questions, a little bit depending on what you want to know, you can always reach out to us indeed, or RVO. And if you're more talking about a physical hub, yes, I know RVO has plenty of offices, and we have one as well. So it's also good to maybe schedule an in-person meeting. And maybe since I'm still talking, it's also a question of Thijs. Is the application for the PIB still open? Yes, it is. So we can follow up on that as well. But maybe back to Raymond or Celine if you want to add something to my answer.
Yeah, I want to add, we are based in The Hague, Raymond and I, so you're of course very welcome to pop by. And we operate all together under the Sports NL network, and that's we have the several branch organizations, the public entities that focus on sports. But maybe Raymond wanted to say the same thing.
Yes, I wanted to say that indeed Sports NL, it's a public-private cooperation with, for example, the Football Association, with Sports Innovator, who is funded by the Ministry of Healthcare and Sports. And indeed, we work from the office located in The Hague, but the RVO, we also have offices in Assen, Zwolle, Utrecht, Roermond, and The Hague, and I'm somewhere in the middle, so it's not a problem for me to travel to, for example, Utrecht or Roermond or Zwolle when you have a meeting in person, where I can tell you more about our network, what we can do in relation to sport, but also how I can contact you with my colleagues from business development, communication, or everything else what's needed to work together.
Great. Yeah, we are based in AHD or HSD, sorry, in The Hague, The Hague Security Delta. And we work closely with Dutch Innovation Factory in Zoetermeer and the sports facilities there.
Okay, then yeah, I'm not at the office now, so we cannot, so I cannot walk to you. But let's see, and let's schedule a meeting with the three of us. So you, Celine, and myself, to see what we can do and yeah, how we can work together.
That will be exciting. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And yes, as mentioned, I think you get our email addresses after this meeting, so feel free to send an email to Celine or to me. Yeah, mine is quite easy, raymond.toet@rvo.nl. So if yeah, feel free to send, and we will catch up later.
Perfect, thanks. Maybe Zachariah, saw you raise your hand as well. Please go ahead.
Yes, hi everyone. Question about specific the Portuguese market. Saw some relevant insights as for the opportunities there might be for Portugal in 2030. What is the most effective way? Let's say we have the expertise, we have the knowledge we can add on the existing knowledge in Portugal. Let's say we have that. What is the most effective road to the decision makers that actually decide whether you can do the project or do something there? Is there a city council? Is there a coordinated organizing committee in Portugal? Is there something that is coordinated for the whole three countries together? What is the most effective route if we look at Portugal for this specific case?
Well, I don't know which specific opportunity are you mentioning? But as I said, in the annex, we have those types of contacts, and every organization that is related to each opportunity. And our recommendation is for you to start there, maybe, and get in contact with those stakeholders and even public organizations in Portugal. And I'm sure they can help you to better tackle and to better start investing or trying to. Yes, maybe Manel, can you go to the annex so I can show you? Okay, yeah, no. Yes, this one. So we have a slide like this for each of the opportunities, and you can see that they are color coded. So some are regulators, some are owners, and some are providers. And on the right side of the slide, we have some relevant contacts with specific people that are in charge of these areas. So maybe this can maybe guide you a little bit better in your approach. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah.
Maybe to add from my side, what we notice that it's sometimes difficult if all the 40 people will reach out to them individually. So therefore, we choose also for this PIB, so this partnership, because during trade missions, when we have the embassy involved, when we have a cluster of companies, it's much more effective to meet those organizations and reserve the time for a meeting that we want instead of a quick online call or maybe don't get an answer at all. But you see, if we approach them together and we organize, let's say, a couple of hours during one of the trade missions, those are always good and efficient ways to meet with the right stakeholders.
Thank you.
We're almost out of time. We still have a couple of minutes. So if there are any questions, feel free to ask. And if not, we're finished nice in time and everyone can go for lunch or the next meeting. You should also know it's of course a start, this webinar. So it's one of the first activities that we and the embassy do in relation to sports in Portugal and the FIFA World Cup. So much more events, activities will follow, and therefore I would also encourage you to reach out to us or one of the speakers if you are interested in a follow-up or have any other ideas you would like to discuss. And it's I see a bit quiet from your side, so I assume that all the questions are answered, and therefore I think it's good to close this webinar. And we're looking forward to the follow-up with all of you, and I hope to see you in Portugal maybe during one of the activities in real life. So thank you very much, and have a nice day.
And thank you very much for hosting this one.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice
Thank
day.
you.